Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So this has been a much requested video, so let's get straight into my fitness journey. I actually grew up very healthy. I had 3 older brothers. I had a very healthy appetite. I remember I used to eat literally the same size as their food portions, but I was very normal sized. I was very fit and healthy, normal weight. My fitness journey really begun in 2013, and that was a year after I had turned 18. I was studying my law degree, so I was at university, and basically like many other girls, I had started drinking, and then when you're going out a lot, you tend to not make the best food choices. Your metabolism slows down. I started to pack on a lot of weight. It wasn't unusual because my habits were making me do that. And I kind of just woke up one day very uncomfortable in my own body, and I'm only 160 centimeters, so I'm quite short. So when I do put on weight or lose weight, it is quite noticeable for me personally. That is where my fitness and health journey began. I then set on a journey to lose the weight that I had put on, and it was very much just restricting my food. And then I started going to a boot camp. I think it didn't take long before I kind of lost the weight and got to my normal size again. Actually, I'll put a photo up of my first before and after that I ever put on Instagram, but then that sort of sparked my passion to be fit and to be shredded. So then we go on to 2014. This is kind of when I was chasing that whole I want abs, I want to be shredded and fit, and very much those Fitspo photos on Instagram were circulating, and so my goal was very much to get skinnier than what I was, and I was already very fit and healthy, but like any girl, wanted more. Yeah, so that year was very much, I went through a year of I remember doing stuff the skinny teas and diets. I remember I saw a PT and he put me on 1200 calories, trying all the fads. So 2014 was trying all the fads. Also in 2014, I remember just feeling everything was really hard. It was hard to work out. It was hard to follow these diets. So we move on to the next year, 2015. And this is when I moved in with my partner, Tim, who is now my husband. And we moved in with another couple, Mickey and Kyle. If you're an OG Georgie fan, you would have had me on Instagram and seen a lot of me and Mickey together. We kind of did a lot of fitness and health together. That's when I started doing F45. It was just up the road from our apartment. Also, I was still in law school at this point. I basically was doing that every single day probably, and so I remember I was eating about 1200 calories. This is a really weird year because mentally I was good. I was all good. I fell in love with health and fitness. I was really loving it. I really loved the way I looked and everything I was doing, and it was weird because I remember sort of losing weight but not caring too much about it, whereas previously I was very mentally stuck on it. And I remember just one day being oh, I don't fit the size 8, I need the size 6. And I was just kind of oh, it didn't even really matter to me. I was so focused on just health and fitness rather than how I looked. So it kind of started off like that, but then over this is a 2-year period, I kind of slipped into this mental space where more was better. More exercise was better and less food was always better. Very restrictive, and I was doing a lot of exercise. I very much would not eat anything bad during the week. I was I don't know, I remember people being oh my god, I just can't believe how you don't eat anything bad during the week. And I just found it so easy. I was yeah, no, I don't eat bad foods during the week. And I found it so easy to stick to training nearly 7 times a week and eating 0 to no food. Obviously, as a result, I lost quite a bit of weight. So this is kind of when I was at my skinniest, and I'll put a photo up here. It kind of just happened. It's really weird. I was kind of in this tunnel vision. I didn't even realize what was sort of happening, and I was just sort of going through the motions. Also, that was the first time that you could see my abs. I'll chuck a photo there. Also, I realized this is the time that I started getting positive reinforcements for what I was doing. I remember we went to a function with Tim's friends. I've been with Tim since I was 17, so I think I was around 21 at this age. I remember one of his friends saying to me, obviously we were all drinking, and he meant this in the nicest nicest way possible. But he was like, oh my God, Georgie, like, you know, you've always been like good looking and like really cute and all that sort of thing. But like now, like you're so fit and you're so like hot. I just remember thinking like, oh wow, like people obviously like really liking what I'm doing. And also this is another time where I kind of blew up on Instagram a bit more, because Instagram, you get your abs out, you get more followers, it's like a thing. So I was getting lots of positive reinforcements for what I was doing, but then I honestly did that for like 2 years straight of constantly restricting, constantly over-exercising. I remember it got to the point where so F45, they do 2 strength days and 2 like HIIT days, even though their strength days aren't really strength, they're even like HIIT. But anyway, so like I wouldn't go to the strength days, and like on those days I would go do like a 10K run. So I was just like over-exercising to the max, but I just thought I was being so fit and healthy. I thought more was better. Also around this time I lost my period, but I wasn't too bothered because I did go to a doctor and he was like, oh, I think you're just exercising too much, like it's all good, do you want to go on the pill? And I didn't want to go on the pill, and that was the end of it. But I lost my period, I remember, for like a year straight. So this time is also when I started binge eating. So at the time, I didn't think I had a problem or that I was binge eating, because it would kind of be like I would eat nothing bad all week, and then Friday night, me and Tim would get Nando's. It's my favorite takeout. I remember like I'd literally get like half a kilo of honey roasted macadamias. They were like my favorite. And then I'd also get a whole block of Milky Way with like the cookies and cream cookies in them. And no joke, I would eat all the Nando's, I'd eat the whole block, like a family size block, and I'd eat half the bag of macadamias. And I would be so full, like so many times I'd be in bed and I would be like, oh my God, Tim, like I can't breathe. Like I couldn't even lay on my stomach, it would hurt. So I would eat to the point of like physically feeling ill. And I honestly did that every weekend, and I just thought that was normal because cheat meal, and like that's like what was going around social media. And I didn't see that as binging, because back then I thought binging was just like when you get out of control and you like hid in your car, and I thought, oh, it's healthy because I eat clean all week, so it's fine. But I'd literally feel so restricted that I would like stuff myself of food on the Friday night, and then usually Saturday as well, because I like couldn't control my cravings. So that's when that started, and honestly that kind of held on for a couple years also, because I was just such in that mental state that that was okay. Okay, so now we move on to 2016, and this is when I started working in the law firm that I was at. So I was still studying, but then I started working in a law firm, and I was kind of getting ready to like finish my studies. And so I was still very restrictive with my food and over exercising, but then we also bring into the mix of having a new job and just like another stressor, I guess. 2016 is when I experienced adult acne, low moods. I obviously had a hormone imbalance. I would just feel exhausted all the time. So basically for 2 years I was completely fine, and then this year it just hit with all these health issues. And also I started to put on like weight around this time, and then I was also restricting harder, and I found I was still putting on weight. This year was very confusing and scary and uncomfortable. Back then, like I know a lot of girls on Instagram talk about like over exercising and under eating, but back then like no one was talking about it, and I honestly was so confused what was happening with my body, because I had lived that way for 2 years and had no problems. I just like didn't know what was happening. So that brings us to 2017, and I want to call it like my healing year. And this is when I found LJ, who is my PT, and she helped me a lot with getting back on track. I also saw a naturopath for my hormones. We got my hormones leveled, and like which helped with like the acne and the exhaustion and the low moods and like balancing them. I think I like finally put it together that the reason why I was getting these health issues is because I was so restrictive. I was over exercising, over training, and just basically not treating my body right for so many years, and it finally clicked. I started cooking also because I realized that like previously to that, eating wise, I never cooked. It's so funny because previously to 2017, eating was like a hassle. It was like, I remember thinking, oh, I honestly wish we just didn't have to eat and food just wasn't a thing in life. Because it was just such like a stressor on my mind, and so I would just like order these meals and like get them delivered, not have to think about it. 2017, like I started cooking, I started really like enjoying making meals and like nourishing my body. I stopped dieting, I stopped restricting, I started actually eating to nourish my body and feel better rather than to look a certain way. This is also actually when I started intuitive eating. Like I didn't realize I was doing it at the time. I do remember LJ gave me some calories, but I honestly didn't really track because it just never felt that good to me, and I preferred to just like see how I felt, see how my energy was. And so that whole year I like didn't diet, I didn't restrict, and also I started strength training, and I stopped doing as much HIIT and cardio. So I even remember there was definitely this period where I like struggled to let go, and LJ's like, dude, you gotta stop doing cardio so much, like it's really hindering your body. And he's like, you can only do it twice a week, the other days have to be strength. And I remember I'd already done it twice, and she like caught me in the gym doing a HIIT session, and I was like, oh my god, this is not okay. Like it took a couple of months, but I got to the point of just strength training. So 2017 was like a really big like growing year for me, and I just started to feel better, and I started feeling like myself. Like I started connecting with my body, which I honestly hadn't felt for like 4 years. So then we get to 2018, current year, and at the start of the year I did wedge shed. So my wedding was in April, so I started shredding for that, and honestly that was the first time was not like obsessed. So I found wedge shed really easy, and like mentally I was in such a good place because 2017 me and LJ had really built up my metabolism, felt really good in gym, not doing hardly any cardio, and like maintaining like a body that I was happy with. So wedge shed, like I just like cut my food a bit and I did a bit more HIIT, and I felt amazing, and it was nothing extreme, but it was just like so positive going into that. And so I did that, and that was all good, like felt really happy. Again, during the mid-year before I went to America, I remember I told you guys, I was like, I'm gonna go on a mini cut. And then a couple of videos later, I was like, no, I guess I thought about it, and like before 2017 when I healed myself, I literally dieted and restricted and over exercised for like 4 or 5 years straight. And I was just like, what are you doing? What are you actually doing, Georgia? And I mentally like was not in the greatest place. Like I just had stressful stuff going on. So I even said to you guys, I was like, I don't want to diet. Like I don't think we should feel like we have to diet. So now this brings me to how I am at the moment. I eat intuitively. So that's just listening to my body's biofeedback and acting accordingly. Yeah, like just listening to my body's intuition and its feedback and going from there. I get movement in, and I love training. I've always loved training, but it's just not obsessive. So that's the timeline of my fitness journey, the ups, the downs, and all that sort of stuff. I want to go through my mental state previously and my mental state now. So previously, my mental state was very much, I had these like food rules. There was good food and there was bad foods, and also like I was cutting out like whole food groups for no reason. Like I remember, I swear I went like 2 years without proper like carbs. Like I would have vegetables for my carbs, which I do a kind like a little bit still now because I just generally love vegetables, but like I literally wouldn't let myself eat like white potato or rice or bread or anything like that. Like I was just very in this mental state that there was bad foods I could never eat. Also previously I would be stressed out if I couldn't get a workout in, or if I didn't do a certain amount of workouts per week. Also my self-worth would definitely depend on how my food went that week or how I was doing with training. If I had a good food week and I ate clean the whole week, it'd be Friday morning and I'd feel like on top of the world. which is now I'm like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. My life was very much controlled by what I saw in the mirror and my training or eating for that week. And I also had a really like emotional connection to my food. When I went through the binging stage, also 2017 is when I stopped binging, and I think that's because I stopped restricting my food for the first time in like 4 years. But when I was binging, I remember the whole week I would like fantasize about the food I was eating, and it would be like a constant thought in my head. And also I definitely went through a stage where I wouldn't let myself have food unless it was healthy and, you know, like refined sugar free, gluten free, and all the frees. And don't get me wrong, like I cook like that now, and like I think it's fine to, you know, want to source out recipes like that, but I was very much like I had to eat like that 100% of the time, otherwise I was a failure. So let's take it back to now and how I feel. Basically, I have realized that sleep, social connection, stress, and like your mental health is so much, if not more, a part of like health and fitness than how you train and what you eat. Before, that's all I would think about, like it's just training and eating. Whereas now I realize like health and like well-being is so much more than that. Also now I don't have those food rules, like ridiculous food rules that I constantly would do. I definitely have like certain things that I like try and stick with because I know it's gonna make me feel better, but if I don't, like I don't have any guilt about it, and it's like a very balanced approach, whereas previously it was like all or nothing sort of approach. Also, I've stopped like manipulating my body in regards to previously if I had ice cream or overate or binge ate the next day, I would try and out exercise. Whereas now, like if I accidentally overeat, like it's all good. I'm not perfect, you're not perfect, like it's not a big deal. The biggest change for me is I have stopped letting like Instagram models or like other people be the authority over how I should feel and how my body should feel, and I just listen to my body's intuition and my body's feedback. I've realized so much that it knows best. It has so much wisdom that I just need to trust, rather than thinking that someone else like knows you better than you know yourself. Because for so long I focused on, oh, what's this person doing on Instagram? Oh, I should eat like this person. This person's doing the keto diet. I need to try this. And for so long, it was just like letting everyone else have authority over how I should feel and how I should look and how I should treat myself, rather than looking inwards and doing the self-work and doing my own little things that I need to do inside me to know how I feel. That has just been like the biggest and best change, because now like it doesn't matter what Susie down the road is doing, or you know, my mum's doing, not that she diets, or anything like that, because I know I've done the work, I've done the inner work, I know what I'm doing is good for my body, and I've sort of like, I've learned about my body, I've now got this connection with my body. I was never diagnosed with an eating disorder. I don't think I really had one, like maybe a touch of orthorexia, because I definitely went through a stage like that. But looking back, I definitely believe that I had some disordered eating and like just disordered habits, like that just weren't mentally healthy. And to be completely honest, this is how my whole ebook that is getting released soon kind of came about, because for years and years, I just put my body through so much crap and so much stress. I wish I had connected and listened to my body's intuition and myself like so much sooner, because I wouldn't have gone through so much crap. And honestly, when I was writing like the first part, I was I don't know why I'm getting emotional. So I was literally writing to like Georgie a couple of years ago, because back then I just like, I didn't have the tools and I didn't have the awareness. And so I actually wrote Find Your Healthy Thinking of myself a couple of years ago, because I know if I just had some tools, and because guys, the ebook is like, it's definitely a beginner's, so it's only like a $25 ebook, but it's going to give you some tools to start listening to your body's intuition, listening to your body's biofeedback, and just gaining that like connection with your body. Because the thing is, you guys have probably got this like goal weight or goal body, and like I have been there. I've had my goal body, I've been at my goal weight, and you know what? I wasn't any happier. I actually remember getting to my goal weight and thinking, oh, I think I need to lose a couple more kilos. And that's because I hadn't done any inner work. It was all just focusing so much on my reflection, and I just had no connection to myself. And basically it's taking me like, 4 to 5 years to like find my healthy. And if I can like help one girl to realize that like over exercising and under eating is not the answer, and find they're healthy and just like find that connection to themselves, that's all I want. And that's like the biggest reason why I started my channel. Also, I do want to stress that Find Your Healthy, the ebook, is not for girls with eating disorders. If you have an eating disorder, you should definitely seek professional help. Also, I just want to say, if you're kind of having these similar thoughts and like what I was saying, how I was thinking previously, I definitely encourage you to speak to someone or like sort of just seek help, because I thought like there's definitely a point there where I knew my thoughts probably weren't the healthiest, and I was like, oh, because I was probably underweight at one point, but because I was never like stick thin or severely underweight, I thought, oh, I can't have, disordered eating or any issues because I'm not skinny enough. Don't get me wrong, I'm at such like a healthy, happy place right now. And so like all these things needed to happen to be the person I am today, so I don't regret anything. But I'm just saying I probably could have got here a lot sooner if I had, help from a professional, or just like help from like people, or just people kind of knew what was happening around me, because I just didn't seek any help. I didn't talk about it. I didn't really talk to anyone. I just think there's nothing wrong with talking to people, seeking professional advice, and I definitely do encourage you to do that. Like, I wish I did that. So that is my fitness and health journey. I do want to just say a big thank you to you guys, because I started my YouTube in my healing year, but starting my YouTube has just, I feel like it has helped me so much more, because YouTube is like this community where like I can talk about my thoughts and how I'm feeling, and people resonate with you and people comment back, and I feel like it's very much community based. Previously I just didn't have a lot of that, so I feel like YouTube has been such a big help in sort of like my journey, and like I know you guys are just awesome, and I honestly love making YouTube videos and talking to you guys and just having a bit of community around me. It's like one of my favorite things ever. So I do just want to say a big thank you for everyone who's like supports my channel and all that sort of stuff. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy this video, please give me a thumbs up, as it really supports my channel, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.